Hi guys, welcome back. You'll notice that I'm cycling and it's dark. I've just finished work, so I'm cycling home, and the England match kicked off around 15-20 minutes ago, something like that. Kicked off at 7, I think. So the reason for this video is I want to see how quiet the roads are. St Anne's Road now. When I get to the junction where the Waterloo pub is, I'll be going on Central Drive, and it's usually a fairly busy road. I wouldn't say super busy at this time of night, but I want to see if there's any like marked difference when there's a football match on. Oh, that probably jerked the camera. You can't see the floor, but where all the grids are on this bit of road, there's like really big potholey bits and it's really bumpy on the bike. So yeah, we're just here to see really during this little trip how quiet the streets are. I expected them to be really quiet, but then again it wasn't even that quiet at work tonight. I expected loads more people to stay home and watch the match, so I was very surprised and happy to see that most kids did in fact turn up for their lessons, so that's good. So are you a football fan? Are you interested in the World Cup? Are you rooting for your home country? I know that probably a good 80% of my viewers are actually from England, but I have got viewers from all around the world because I get messages from people from everywhere. So are you rooting for your country? Do you even care about the football? To be honest, I'm very much indifferent when it comes to football. I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, I'd like to see England do well just for the feel-good factor it would bring to a lot of people. I know so many people love watching the football and they just enjoy the World Cup so much. And it means so much to them that England get far. From that perspective, I hope England do well, because they'll bring a lot of happiness to a lot of people. But personally, yeah, I couldn't be more indifferent than I am, to be honest. I really don't care. I enjoy the Olympics, watching sports, but I like watching sports like, obviously I like the swimming and I like the diving, but my favourite sport to watch on TV is gymnastics. And I don't really so much mind the athletics. I can watch athletics when it's the Olympics and things like that, because I do quite enjoy that, but yeah, any team ball games, and I'm really not a fan. Like football and handball, that's a thing, isn't it? I've only seen bits of that once or twice. Hockey and netball I'm not a fan of watching, although when I was at school I was on the netball team and the hockey team, and I was a massive fan of playing both games. But for watching now as an adult, yeah, I'm really not into watching sports on the TV unless it's really gymnastics and swimming. I'm also not into soap operas as well. I don't watch any soaps. I used to many years ago. I used to watch EastEnders once upon a time, but I stopped watching it, and I've never watched that show, whatchamacallit, the jungle one, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I've never ever watched that. Well, I tell a lie, I watched it the first season it was on, I think. I watched because it was a new thing, and I think I watched a bit of the second year, but apart from that, but it is quiet tonight, isn't it? I've just realised how quiet the streets are. Yeah, I've never watched that I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Oh, I watched Dancing on Ice. Well, I used to. I've not watched it for the last couple of years. And when it very first came out, for the first 3 years, I used to watch Big Brother, but but it got too annoying and pretentious, full of like noisy wannabe people. I like to watch Survivor, the American one. I sometimes watch that online, that's quite enjoyable. I don't know how this vlog just degenerated into me telling you what kinds of programmes I like to watch. I like to watch a couple of TV shows online. My favourite show of the moment is, well, it's over now, it finished a couple of years ago, but I love The Good Place on Netflix. If you've never watched The Good Place, you should 100% totally watch it, because The Good Place is a brilliant show. It's really, really cool. Oops, I need to just let that bus get past so I can turn and cross. I'm going to sneak across now before those cars get here. Yeah, The Good Place is a great show. I did watch Game of Thrones when that was on, but fun fact, I never watched Game of Thrones until the 4th season was starting. I think season 4 was due to air in 2 weeks' time, and my daughter was mad on Game of Thrones. She loved it, and she had all the DVDs of season 1, 2 and 3, and she was like, Mum, you've got to watch Game of Thrones, it's brilliant. So I binge watched in the space of a couple of weeks seasons 1, 2 and 3 of Game of Thrones. And then as soon as I'd finished watching 1, 2 and 3, season 4 started, but then it was kind of torture because I had to watch it like a normal person, 1 episode a week, and wait for the next episode. Another show I watched, and I'd never ever seen it before, I watched The Big Bang Theory, and I watched that during lockdown. I'd never ever seen it, but I pretty much watched the whole thing during lockdown because that was on Netflix. And then I watched The Young Sheldon Show, and that's kind of wholesome. It's very different from Big Bang Theory, but it's kind of cool how they did the characters when they were younger. And I watched The Walking Dead for the first few seasons, but I stopped watching that pretty much after they killed Carl off, because I was like, how very dare you, because he was supposed to live and he was one of my favourite characters. So I pretty much stopped watching The Walking Dead after they killed Carl off, and I haven't seen it since. But I do think that I should catch up on it. I haven't seen The House of Dragon yet, but I will eventually watch that. Older shows, I used to love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but again I never watched that until it was nearly over. It was a couple of weeks again before season 7 aired, and I kind of accidentally my way into Buffy the Vampire Slayer because I was scrolling around the TV bored looking for something to watch, and an episode of Buffy was on. So I just watched it and kind of liked it. But the funny thing behind that story is, if you're a fan of the show, which I'm sure some of you are, the first episode of Buffy that I ever watched was the one in season 6 called Tabula Rasa, when they all lose their memories. So they all woke up, because I'd turned it on a few minutes into the show, into the episode, because I was scrolling, and they were all just awake and nobody knew who anybody was. But I also didn't know who anybody was, so that was an interesting perspective to watch that show from. And then after I'd watched that episode, I realised what the show was about, how many seasons it was, and I ended up watching it from the very beginning, and I bought it all on VHS video, if you please. And I paid a lot of money for season 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when it came out on VHS video. And I ended up selling the whole collection fairly cheap, but by then people were collecting DVDs and VHS tapes weren't worth that much. And then I also watched Angel as well. And I used to love Charmed, if you've ever seen that. Some of you probably have. One of my favourites used to be a show called Sliders, but only for the first 2 or 3 seasons. After they brought in the evil aliens, the Cro-Mags, it just became trashy programme. Well, not trashy, that's the wrong word. I just didn't like the direction the show went into, and I didn't enjoy it anymore because it got rid of a few of my favourite characters. One of my favourite shows of the 90s, I think, it was the 90s, was called Goodnight Sweetheart. And if you've never heard of that or never seen it, you've got to try and catch it on, I don't know, you can probably buy it really cheap off eBay, but Goodnight Sweetheart is a brilliant show. I'd definitely recommend that one. Anyway, as you can see, I'm almost home and the streets are pretty much dead. It's a nice mild night, but everybody seems to be at home watching football. So I am going to end this one now. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on my journey home from work. And I will see you all soon in the next video. Goodbye.